to pause the stream while I check a few things out. And Bri better be in this time. Okay, guys, I'm back. I'll just wait for Rye, because hopefully he does come. Rye Wilson, because, you know. Okay, who joined the stream? You gotta say your name, because I can't be checking the stream to see if someone viewed it. Things get really messy when I start doing that now. I'm going to turn up my volume. Scary stories. Mr. Spooky. Childhood.
If I knew her. I shook my head, and he told me that she was missing, and that her parents really wanted her back, but he was having trouble finding her. At that point, my friend from earlier, who we'll call Anna, had showed up. The guy asked Anna if she'd seen the little girl, but she hadn't either. He then seemed to get really sad, and shook his head, saying, "I just really wish I could find her. Do you two want to help me look? If you get in my car, we can drive around and hopefully we'll find her." To me, that sounded awesome. I threw all notions of stranger danger out the window. I'd never been in a police car before, and thought I'd have the time of my life. But Anna seemed to have her head on right that day, and politely declined. This visibly upset the man, and he got really angry, telling us that he'd arrest us if we didn't get in his car and help him. He then reached into his glove box and pulled out a set of handcuffs.
Okay,
Anna
if
and
you're
I
a real
started
cop, you'll
freaking
threaten
out,
people.
and we booked it back to my house. We heard the
Right?
man speed off as soon as we started running. At this point, we were both crying, but we managed to get to my house and tell my mom what had happened. She immediately called the police and
Hold on. Okay, guys, so I'm basically gonna search this up. We can hear check.
asked if they had an officer patrolling in our neighborhood,
Alright, guys.
but they didn't.
Hey, guys. You guys hear that? Hold on. Alright. Hold on. I got one bright idea. Okay, guys, I'm back. No one's even in the freaking stream. had it on pause. Son of a gun. Haley Glenn, I got some bad news. Riot here. But you can stay in the stream anyways. Rise, I go on Discord so we can't see my message. Let's go back on to YouTube and if you want to stick around for Mr. Spooky Stories, then go ahead. I'm gonna be hearing the story again now.
Probably early to mid-50s. He always carried around a blue fanny pack. He kept new baseball cards in the fanny pack and would try to sell them to us and the other kids. One day we went there to play and get some ice cream cones, like we always did. Of course, the guy was there, like he always was. And on this particular day, we were the only 3 kids there. We had told our parents about the man, and they told us to steer clear of him. We played around, but always stayed wary of where the man was. The play place in this particular McDonald's had an outdoor play area that was poorly visible from any of the employees.
Yeah, I know you
This
guys
is
are
why
friends.
it was so easy for him to creep on children. Anyway, we were playing around like usual when the man approached us asking if we wanted to buy any baseball cards. We all said no, claiming that we didn't even have any money. He told us that because we were special little ones, he would give us the cards for free. We still said no, but he was relentless. Red flags started going off in my head as soon as he crossed the little half wall separating the play area from the sidewalk. I'll never forget the look he had on his face. It was a look of intent. He came closer to us until he was within arm's reach. He asked us if we wanted to see any of his baseball cards, saying that he had special cards that no one had ever seen before. We started to get really scared, so we turned to leave the play area, and he grabbed my friend's hand and tried to yank it towards him. My friend managed to break free, and we bolted back to our neighborhood. We immediately told our parents. We were no longer allowed to visit that McDonald's anymore. A few months later, that guy was busted for kidnapping and molesting a little girl. This happened at least twice in my childhood, around when I was maybe 6 or 7. Our local McDonald's is set up so that the dining room is split. Part of the dining area is directly visible from the counter by the employees, and another part of it shares a wall with the kitchen and has tables along that wall and booths on the other side. So my mom took my brother and I in there for lunch one day. It was sparsely populated at the moment, although most of the customers had chosen to sit in the section visible from the counter. After we'd ordered and gotten our drinks and everything, we picked one of the booths in the other part of the building. At this point, I noticed the guy at one of the tables. Now, keep in mind, I was a really young child, so despite the fact that this guy was giving off a very creepy vibe to me, I didn't mention it to my mom because I figured if anything, she would say something or move if creeped out. But she didn't seem to notice, and thankfully my brother sat next to me, so I was on the inside of the booth. Not very well hidden since my brother is a year younger than me, but hidden enough to feel slightly safer. Except, this guy kept looking at me and didn't seem to have any food with him. So here I am, a small child being watched by a God knows how old man, and I still don't say anything to my mother. The worst part is that at some point I realized that this man had one of his hands down his pants and seemed to be trying to discreetly flash me. I should have said something at this point, but in all honesty, I was too terrified to. Also, I had no idea exactly if what he was doing was wrong since I was so young. I just knew I was very unsettled
He was trying to
scared.
molest her.
Skip a few years later to the same McDonald's, and we picked the same area of the restaurant despite me not wanting to. And that same guy was back. This time, though, my brother noticed him too, and saw him watching me, and made sure to keep me hidden the best he could next to him in the booth. I've never seen the man again since then, and I have stupidly never mentioned him to my mother. But creeping in McDonald's, I desperately hope we never meet again.
So,
At Fisher Homes, we have your style ready now. Choose from our beautiful move-in ready homes. You'll love the latest design trends and open floor plans. Sketch.
yes. Let's go watch this one. Right! Man! I'm glad to see you! Don't worry, Rye. I'm not mad at all. I don't need to be mad at you because you joined the stream this time. Rye, I've missed you. You still here, Rye? Yeah, maybe just missed my option. Oh, you're still here. Man, Rye, I'm glad you're here, man. The truth is, I haven't been doing good when that you haven't been in the stream. But no worries, right? I know you're okay, and that you're in the stream and you're okay. You better stay until the rest of the stream, dude. Okay. So be ready to hear more scary stories for the Thanksgiving countdown and my birthday countdown in 4 days. Yes, long. I'll be doing an awesome live stream, so make sure to check that out on November 20th. Okay, right? Check that live stream out. We'll be doing tons of fun activities. Q&A, scary stories, and a mix of try not to laugh challenge, and near the end, and listening to some music. I don't know yet, right? I think a video game and some other stuff, and a Captain America shield.
This story took place one day
Hey,
when I
guys
was
ready?
home alone at
Oh,
night.
holy
My parents had
crap!
gone out to grab some things for our house at one of those stores that
Let's
run.
all take a minute to laugh at that. Ah! Oh my frick! What the heck is that thing? That thing does not look scary. It looks pretty hilarious, actually. I joined my Discord as Duobot. By the way, if you guys haven't noticed, ME6 has been replaced with Duo Recorder Bot. Because I figure since Duo Recorder Bot is my main bot for the live stream, I use him.
Midnight. After my parents had left, I started watching some TV and eating the rest of what was left for dinner from earlier. Once I got really engrossed in the show, I completely forgot what was going on in the real world, so I was startled when I heard the knock of a door. Thinking that it was my parents who might have decided to come home early, I went and looked through the people. What I saw, instead of my parents, was a man in his late 50s, maybe even early 60s. Now, I decided that I was just going to be brave, so I called through the door and asked him if I could help him. My voice is always a bit shaky when answering the door, or even if I'm answering the phone, so the man must have known I was a bit scared. He claimed that his phone had died and his wife would be very worried if he didn't call back, and if he could use my phone for just a second. There was a part of me that wanted to run and hide, but I decided to act brave and pretend someone other than me was home. I called out to my dad, who of course wasn't even.
He looks hilarious too. No person alive freaking looks like that fatty. Oh my god, he looks like a freaking fat vampire that has no thanks to him biting no one and is a failure to his parents. Man, frick. What is this? Halloween? I know what you guys are thinking, but who cares about trying to collapse? I know that promise I made, but I'd rather listen to scary stories because of how big I got into them. On Christmas, we're going to be listening to Christmas scary stories.
Home and said,
My
dad will take
me. Right? Have you got addicted to these? Because I have. But I'm gonna tell you guys a little story real quick. Before this is a quick little story. Back a long time ago, before I met you, Rye, and all the others, I used to know a person. His name was Connor Bailey. He still comes around. You saw him once. He used to come around. He's my best friend. Me and him used to make all kinds of YouTube videos together. Yeah, me and him are still in contact. Hey, Chris. Woo! John Cena. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, guys, back to the story.
care of that for you, sir. He hastily said, never mind. I don't want to trouble you guys any further than I already have. I think I have about 2% on my phone. I'll just make the call myself. My heart was racing. Said, never mind. I don't want to trouble you guys any further than I already have. I think I have about 2% on my phone. I'll just make the call myself. My heart was racing, but once again I pretended to call to my mom and told her he didn't need the phone after all. After he left, I made sure the doors were locked as tightly as possible and sat down to finish my show. Not even 10 minutes later, there was another knock at the door this time, and I was sure it was my parents, so I ran towards the door, but when I looked through the peephole, I saw an old woman around the same age as the man. Now, I thought it might have just been someone in my building my mom knew, and so I called out and asked if she needed help. After a short pause, the woman claimed that she had hurt her knee, and she wanted to come in to get some ice. That's when I felt chills run down my body and knew for sure I wasn't going to let her in. Some of you might think I was overreacting, but something just seemed really off.
I'm not thinking you're overreacting because there's an old man and an old woman. That was his wife. I think the old man was actually the person who was okay, maybe. Or maybe he hired her.
Cops. She screamed that I was a rude, ungrateful bitch and that they would be angry if they found out that I didn't open the door to a sweet old lady like her. After the lady had left, I heard a car start up and take off at a relatively fast speed. So to all of you, please be careful who you open the door for. The woman claimed that she had hurt her knee and she wanted to come in to get some.
Call me okay, guys, I know this is kid friendly, but what you guys about to hear is a bunch of cuss words. So if you're a kid, cover your mouth. She calls me a rude, ungrateful bitch. She's a cocksucking asshole. That's what she is. Okay, guys, you can uncover your ears now. I'm sorry, but I'm flipping my middle finger off because I hate when they call little kids that. I am so sorry, right? But I know a few cuss words around. I play GTA 5, right? And I'm GTA Online. So believe me.
Nice. That's
Right, calm down. We all cuss here and there. Heck, my parents cuss a lot.
when I felt chills run down my body and knew for sure I wasn't going to let her in. Some of you might think I was overreacting, but something just seemed really off, and so I told her I was going to call the cops. She screamed that I was a rude, ungrateful bitch and that they would be angry if they found out that I didn't open the door to a sweet old lady like her. After the lady had left, I heard a car start up and take off at a relatively fast speed. So to all of you, please be careful who you open the door for, and question all the sympathetic stories that they tell. I just want to start off with a bit of background information. At the time of this encounter, I was 14 and I am now 18, and this still freaks me out when I talk about it. So I live with my mom, dad, brother, and dog, which is a border collie. My house is supposed to be 2 flats, but we bought both and turned it into a house so it has 2 doors that can easily be accessed, as we used the back door so we could let my dog out into the garden. It was a late night in December of 2011. My brother Tom and I were home alone as my mom and dad were both going out at a friend's Christmas party. Being an obnoxious teen, I refused to go out because I thought it would be really boring. Me and Tom were upstairs in my house playing the PS3 like usual, and it got around to about 9 p.m. and I heard something
Ew.
fall downstairs. We
I'm a
normally lock my dog in the
PS4.
back room. With this night, there was no exception. Thinking that it was just my dog, I brushed it off as nothing. That was until I heard my dog growl. I've never heard him growl as loud as he did that night. This sent alarm bells ringing in my head. I got up and walked to the top of the stairs to see if I could see anything. As soon as I got to the top, I instantly froze. My front door was wide open. I stood there. I just couldn't move, even if I wanted to. This is when it got even creepier. I was about ready to run and call the police.
Here's Bradley Green, a pump shotgun. And be like, hey, sorry, no, mother. Bang! Shoot him right in the head and your problem is A-okay.
When a man in full black gear walked into my house and immediately stared at me. It felt like an eternity. Me, a 14-year-old boy, standing inches away from a 6-foot guy inside my house, just staring at each other. That's when he began to talk. He tried to engage in a friendly conversation. It went on the lines of this. The man said, "Hi, is this your house?" Me, "Yes." Him, "I like your dog."
Did you already have dinner, Because I don't want you to be trying to, like, rush me through the stream like I usually do.
He seems nice. Me, "Thank you." Him, "Where are your parents?" I didn't reply. Him, "So what I want you to do is go in the bathroom and lock the door." Me, "Why?" As he was about to say something, I heard sirens coming up on the street. The man hesitated and then proceeded to run out the door. But before that, he looked back at me and said, "You didn't see anything. Got that?" I nodded my head and then he just ran away. Moments later, the police came running through my door and immediately began to ask questions, like if it was alright and is the man still there. I just couldn't speak. I was so shocked of what happened. I was so shocked at what had just happened in the space of a few minutes. I later that night found out that a man who was waiting at the bus stop outside of my house had spotted the man enter my house multiple times. He contacted the police about this until he just stood at my door, that is. That's when the man knew that something was off and ushered the police to arrive soon. They never caught the man who did this, and from my encounter with him, all I could tell the detectives was that he was a fairly large and spoke in extremely deep tone. The man never stole anything from my living room. It just leaves questions on what he was actually looking for. It's fair to say that my parents vowed to never leave the house without us again. The thing that still haunts me is, what if I never got up to look around? He could have easily just walked up the stairs and straight into my room. Nothing else has ever happened. I, nor anyone in our neighborhood, has ever seen that man again.
You should have shot him with something. Surely everyone is going to be in the house at least. The license. That's the new license rule. That's actually a good idea, but that's kind of stupid because it's not going to work. What's the next story? John Cena. Let's hear a good story.
This happened when I was in my mid-20s. At the time, I was living with a boyfriend, and
Okay, can anyone tell me what that is? Usually in these stories, I know what something is.
The area of town we lived in was a rougher working class. But only once was I ever truly scared to be where I was. So at the time, I was unemployed, but my boyfriend wasn't. He'd get up and go to work at around 8:30 in the morning, and I'd sleep for another hour, get up, and then start looking for work
Hey,
online. So one
What are you
morning,
having for
things
dinner
progress as
again?
usual. Boyfriend gets up, gets dressed, kisses me goodbye, and goes to work. And I go back to sleep. Only this time I was woken up literally 10 minutes later by someone knocking on our door. Now, we had no friends in the area and weren't expecting anyone. I got up out of bed and for some reason, make sure to walk quietly to the door. I look through the people and see a guy I didn't recognize.
What did you have for dinner? Or what are you
He's
having?
wearing a tan trench coat. I don't know why, but something about this guy freaked me out. My instincts told me not to open the door, and he knocked again.
Oh.
That's when I decided
Good
that whatever he
ride.
wants,
Very good
if he
ride.
really wants
Who's
it
good
that
ride?
bad,
You are.
he can come
You
back when
are.
my boyfriend is home.
Who gets to watch my stream a little later than it is? You do. You do.
I sneak away from the door and didn't want him to hear my footsteps.
Oh, that's a door.
That's when he tried to open the door. I can hear him gently teasing the knob. Fortunately, my boyfriend locked the door on his way to work, and the creeper couldn't get in. I was freaked out by now. Random guy knocking on the door is one.
I'm flipping him off right now because I'm like, F off. How would you like it? Who knows the sentence from Grand Theft Auto 5? Off. How would you like it if I called the little peonies, huh? That's it, I'm calling the cops. Mama, Baba.
Thing, but now he's actively trying to break in. I was ready to call the cops, but the locked door was enough of an obstacle for him that he just gave up and went away. I didn't leave the apartment at all that day. Fortunately, the guy never came back. So Tan, co-creeper who once tried to break into my apartment, let's not meet ever again. This experience happened to me in the summer of July 2015. To give some background to the story, I live in a small town in California just 20 miles from the coast. And
I have a pump shotgun. Is this really that much of a challenge, buddy? Put my pump shotgun in. I don't really have a pump shotgun, guys. Make a move, buddy. I make that frickin'. All I have to do is pull the trigger, and then you're done. There ain't no surviving a pump shotgun. I shoot you in the leg. Bang!
Considered one of the safest and friendliest towns in the state. Crime is usually rare, besides the usual teens getting caught smoking weed or drinking alcohol. But what I experienced that night was an experience that I would never forget. I am a 17-year-old male, recently graduated high school and soon to be going into college. Because it was summer, I finally had the rare chance and freedom to do whatever I wanted all day without worrying about schoolwork. And I also had the freedom to stay up all night if I wanted to. Anyways, one day my parents told me that they were going to leave the house in the morning and not come back until the next day. Meaning I had the house to myself all day and all night. My mom.
Wait, right. Someone trying to break into your house? Right. Do you have a gun in your house? Because if you do and someone trying to break into your house and I was live streaming, go immediately to my stream and I can tell you what to do. Because I've played over 1 million robbery games and I know exactly what people would do. And watched over 1 million videos, right? If I'm live streaming or on Discord chat me, and I can tell you exactly what to do if your parents are being antagonized. I'll tell you guys a little tip. If you have any guns, any kinds of weapons in your house, grab them. If you have a garage, or try to get out your window if possible, and sneak up behind the person. But if you have any partners on them, see if you have any guns. Be like, and don't even try to threaten them. Just shoot. Call the cops. Okay.
I was getting surgery and was staying overnight, and my dad decided to stay with her in the hospital. I was pretty excited that I had the house to myself for 24 hours, because I never did before. But what happened made me wish my parents were there. As usual, all I did was watch TV, play video games, and be unproductive all day. Basically my summer experience. That is until night rolled around. I was still playing Xbox until around 11 p.m. when things got weird. Now to give you a few more backgrounds, my family has 2 indoor cats. Both are extremely friendly cats, until something happens outside. Whenever there's a bird, raccoon, person, or anything really, they get excited and their feline instincts kick in. They immediately rush to the window and start meowing and growling. They growl especially if someone is at the door. All this information will be relevant for later. So back to the story. It was close to 11 at night, and I was still on my ass playing Call of Duty. The noise volume was fairly low. Get excited and their feline instincts kick in. They immediately rush to the window and start meowing and growling. They growl especially if someone is at the door. All this information will be relevant for later. So back to the story. It was close to 11 at night, and I was still on my ass playing Call of Duty.
Language!
The noise volume was fairly low, so suddenly I heard a few taps coming from the general front door area. Like light footsteps and small scrapes. My cat suddenly bolted from the other room in my house. I paused the game and looked over and saw my cats were walking around excitedly with their tails pointed up and their ears perched. Although my hair stood up as well, I simply dismissed the noise as a rat or raccoon either on the front yard or the roof, because we have so many and I hear them all the time, especially at night. Also, I was too engaged in my game to know specifically where the sounds came from, so I just assumed the roof. A few seconds later, I returned to my game. Although my cats were still clearly nervous and excited, I almost forgot about the sound until a few minutes later when I heard it again. This time it was louder, now sounding.
Hallelujah, man. I mean, my cat ends up running. My cat was ended up running hiding. If I saw a cat doing something like that, I'd grab out a shotgun, be like, shh, strangers at the door. But if you want to be smart, have a shotgun like up to your door. No, don't, because or have a shotgun in your room. Guys, you may be going, I'm 11 and a half, about to be 12. Like, TJ, how do you know this? Well, play GTA 5, you know a lot of things. Hey, if someone tries to mess with you, you just point a gun at their head and be like, Maniaco!
More like hard shuffling across the stone-paved front yard from the front door area. My cats quickly sprinted to the window that overlooks the yard and started to meow excitedly and occasionally hiss. This time I knew something was definitely there. I paused my game again and went over to the window where my cats were at to see what was out there. I expected a deer or a coyote since rats cannot make that type of sound, and the noise only came from the outside door, not the roof. I peered out but saw nothing, since it was very dark. I was a bit more creeped out. I decided not to play any more Xbox, since my hairs were standing up and shivers were spreading throughout my whole entire body. Now, being 6'4" and weighing 200 pounds, I felt like a dumbass and a wuss for being afraid of a deer. I decided to go brush my teeth and go to bed. Before I went into the bathroom, that's when I was just standing there thinking all this crazy shit happened. I decided I would brush my teeth and go to bed. I decided not to play any more Xbox since my hairs were standing. Rats cannot make that type of sound, and the noise only came from the outside door, not the roof. I peered out but saw nothing, since it was very dark. I was a bit more creeped out. I decided not to play any more Xbox since my hairs were standing up and shivers were spreading throughout my whole entire body. Now, being 6'4" and weighing 200 pounds, I felt like a dumbass and a wuss for being
Pussy. You are. Skin friendly, but don't watch the stream.
I decided to go brush my teeth and go to bed. Before I went into the bathroom, that's when I was just standing there thinking all this crazy shit happened. I decided I would brush my teeth and go to bed. Before I went into the bathroom was when I was just standing there thinking all this crazy shit happened. My cats heard it before me. Both of them ran to the front door, one of them growling like I've never heard it before. A split second later I heard it, heavy, shuffling footsteps right outside the door, and then another split second, the automatic lighting from the front porch turned on. Now this time I knew it was a person for sure. Only a human can make obvious footsteps like that, and the automatic lighting only turns on for big objects, like people. There was no knock or doorbell ring, but the front door is loose on its hinges, and if you slightly push it or nudge it, the door rattles. That is exactly what happened, and the rattle terrified me to the bone. Just knowing that I was home alone, in the dark, except for my TV screen, with footsteps and the automatic lighting turning on outside, gave me a feeling of terror that I would never forget. At this point, my cats were going absolutely crazy, meowing, hissing, growling like crazy. Although every single muscle in my body told me to get away, curiosity that people get to look into terror. Curiosity got the better of me, and I quietly snuck to the door.
Guys, now I want you to imagine yourself in these situations. And it's going to make it more scary to pee your pants. Don't blame me if you guys do. I just told you what you can do.
If you entered my house, you would enter the mud
room. But except I would have you guys. And I also have my dad. But if my dad, something happened to him, I just hope that one of my friends on Discord would be online. Because I know Arise occasionally on because I can't get in contact with my mom like that. So I get my mom to, I get like Rye to like call the cops or something, or my mom. I don't have contact with my mom, so Rye, I would have you to call the cops, and I know my address, so I could tell you easily. And I tell you one of the addresses that especially specified. then the cops can just take. Then my family can take the rest of it there. But that's if you live in America.
It's just a closet and a place to put
I'm just
shoes,
kidding.
and then would have to turn right to a former doorway to enter the living room, where I was. Also,
Yeah, you would.
the door is not a fully wooden door like most people have, but instead a decorative glass in the place where the panel should be. Anyways, I snuck up to the mudroom and peered
Right,
around
we
the
live in the
empty
same
doorway.
time zone. So if we live in the same time zone, then surely you can't be like a country away. Because people that live in the same time zone, they're usually in like the same country. Now I know we're all in the USA. Am I correct? Right. You speak English. You have to be in the USA. We all know we're all in the USA because that's the biggest country in the world.
To indeed see through the glass a figure of a person standing there. I cleared my throat and mustered up the courage to ask, "Who's this?" No answer. Now I asked, "Who are you?" The figure bent down and cupped his hands to his face and peered through the decorative glass. The terror swept me again,
Nice.
with my throat tightening and shivers spreading throughout my body. Because I was in such shock, I hardly remember the facial features of the person, except that he was a thin-faced African-American man. We stared at each other for another few seconds.
Franklin, my man! Why are you robbing a house? Have you done like tons of heists? This ain't Franklin Clinton, is it? My friend Jake is now here. Jake the dog. What's up, guys? It's Jake here. I'm drunk, right? Shut up, Jake.
Expression turned into a scowl, like disappointment that I was home. And in a second, the guy was gone. I could hear the fast-paced footsteps of shoes against the stone as the guy ran off. About 15 seconds later, I heard a vehicle turn on and screech of tires as he drove off. My terror soon turned into warm, sweet relief as I knew this man was gone. My cats finally stopped acting so crazy and just, like two cute little kittens, forgot about it, walked to whatever corner of the house, lied down and started snoozing like nothing had ever happened. I called my dad immediately, and when it was ringing, I thought I should tell him what had happened. I called my dad immediately, and when it was ringing, I thought of what I should tell him. When he picked up, I hesitated on telling him what had happened. I don't know why. Maybe it was just because I didn't want him to deal with a house burglar and police while still having to deal with my mom, just waking up from surgery and in pain. So I didn't tell him, and never told him or my mom what I experienced that night. I didn't want my parents to worry, especially because they were on the more overprotective side. My theory on who this guy was and what he was doing was that he was scouting our neighborhood and looking for empty driveways so that he could somehow break into houses. Since our car was gone and I was home alone, he probably thought that there was nobody home. I'm guessing the shuffling and light footsteps the first two times when I thought it was just a rat or a deer was him hesitating or something, and on the third time, he found the courage to look through the glass panel. Finally, when he heard me, he became curious and looked through the glass. However, when he saw me, he figured that he couldn't rob the place because I was there, so he bolted and drove away. Again, this is just my theory. I really have no idea what this guy was up to. The important thing is that I have never seen or heard from this guy again, and I'm relieved that he hoped.
Oh my god. Right. I better be Mrs. Robbie you because that's my mom. Right, this is like the first time I've told you this. I better be Mrs. Bacon or some whatever because that's my mom. Oh my god, right. Oh my god. I crack up every time you say that, and I'm gonna crack up in the future.
Hopefully, will never visit our house again. Actually, now that I think about it, I wish he would come back. I'll be waiting with a baseball bat to show him who the fuck he's messing with. I'm still angry at myself that I reacted in such fear and terror, and I promise that I would react differently if it would happen again. In conclusion, let's never meet again.
Conclusion. Stalker, let's go. Oh, heck. Now we're gonna be running to stalkers now. Rick. So you just talk me over a freaking shotgun and be like, surrender, mother lover, bang! Fall fall down to your death.
This all started about a year ago, in the beginning of the fall semester at my local community college. I had just been to all my classes for the first time, and decided to continue walking around one of the buildings to gather my bearings of where my classes were. I was beginning to leave and was walking towards one of the staircases when I casually spotted an old man sitting on a bench outside one of the rooms. I was beginning to leave and was walking towards one of the staircases when I casually spotted an old man sitting on a bench outside one of the rooms. He must have been in his late 60s and had strikingly short white hair and held a suitcase with him. I didn't think anything of it, but I guess our eyes sort of locked at some point in time, and I uttered, "Hello," under my breath. I wanted to be courteous, and he uttered hello back. I smiled, turned the corner, and started my way down the stairs. But as I started walking down, the man appeared right up alongside me and asked me how my day was going. Not thinking much about it, I told him that it was going well, and that I was enjoying the weather outside. He agreed, and we parted ways at the
Who the
bottom of
heck
the
is the person walking?
staircase.
John Cena.
At this
Shut up,
point,
Jake.
I didn't feel anything was creepy
Right?
about our
Here?
conversation. About a week later, I began seeing him every day. I always saw him sitting outside the same class and leaving as I walked by him to start down the stairs. I just chalked it up to him having a similar schedule to me, but I did find it kind of weird that I started seeing him on both Monday, Wednesday, and my Tuesday and Thursday classes. Again, he seemed like a kind old man, and it was probably just our schedules were the same. Then, weird things began happening. On one occasion, I was sitting in my design class and listening to the teacher. The door to the classroom remained open to let late students in, and I casually glanced over because my eye caught a figure standing in the doorway. There he was, just standing and staring right at me. I sort of shifted in my seat and gave an uneasy smile. He just kept staring. His face.
Right, I know. Anton's a part of the LSPDFR, but you have to stay here, please. Cause I think you're the only one here right now, and you know how scared I get when these stories go on. I can only handle them when someone's here because Mr. Spooky scares the living skid out of me. But he's also a genius. He works with Mr. Nightmare. I think he is Mr. Nightmare, matter of fact.
Absolutely emotionless. From where I was sitting, nobody would have been able to see him, and the teacher kept giving instructions. He eventually broke his gaze and continued
Little
down the
chickens,
hall.
you guys are not how it started.
I figured that I just reminded him of it.
Or wait, was that just a past life stream, or are you just enjoying this stream too much, or do you just think of me as a friend and you like to stay because of me?
Dead
Is
daughter.
it because of all those
something,
reasons?
And pushed it away from my thoughts. Then one day, the sun was going down, and I left one of my classes later than usual. As I walked outside, I casually glanced over to one of the flower boxes that sat outside the buildings. In my peripheral vision, I saw a figure sitting on one of those boxes, and I thought jokingly, what if it's the old man? But as I focused, I couldn't believe my eyes. There he was again. He was just sitting, staring straight ahead, and didn't look at me at all. I figured that as close as I was to him, maybe he'd make some sort of contact, but he never even looked at me. The whole situation felt strange, and I kept walking, keeping my pacing brisk. How could he be here this late? I again pushed it away from my mind and kept walking through the campus to my car. I felt uneasy, as if someone was watching me. I couldn't shake this odd being watched feeling, and to help soothe myself, I looked in the reflection of one of the buildings to prove that no one was following me. But this backfired. I saw him walking directly behind me at a distance of 20 to 30 feet, just clutching his suitcase. Startled and a little afraid that I was wrong, I quickly darted around a corner and decided to take an alternate twisty route to my car. Maybe I was just being a little bit paranoid, but I did continue through a small patch of trees and went the long way to my car. As I approached my car, I looked behind me to make sure that he wasn't there, but he was. This time, closer. He was about 8 feet from me in my car. Now, I was very afraid. There was no doubt in my mind that he was following me. I quickly grabbed my keys to my car, unlocked it, and as he came around the hood, getting around 3 feet from me, I uttered something like, what are you? But I got in, slammed the door, and locked it. It was then that I got a good, long look at him. There he stood, at the hood of my car, just looking into it, at me. There were no students around, and there he was, just standing at the hood, smiling. I threw my keys into the ignition, put my car into reverse, and backed out. As I backed out, he casually walked into the space my car was in, and followed me. I pulled forward to leave, and he stood smack dab in the middle of the street, watching me drive away. Why didn't I tell anyone, you might ask? Well, I really don't know myself. I was still trying to rationalize it, and I don't know what I was thinking. The next day, I went into my design class, and I didn't see him at all. I sat in my classroom as usual and tried to get my mind off of it. This time, I closed the door to the classroom to feel a bit safer. Now, I would have no chance of seeing him and would be able to continue studying in my class safely. I casually look up at the door, and who do I see peeking through the small rectangular window? The old man, and he has his face right up to the glass. He's staring right at me, not anyone else in the room. I quickly stood up from my desk and ran to the other side of the room where he couldn't see me, although I could see him on the other side, trying to get me in view again. My teacher quickly asked me what was going on, and I blurted out, "There's a man at the door, and I think he's stalking me. I'm very scared." My teacher went into action. He ran to the door, quickly opened it, and confronted the old man. I hear him say, "Why are you looking into my classroom?" And I hear the old man respond, I was just making a phone call." And my teacher replies, "Yeah, well, you were staring into my classroom." The old man didn't respond this time and started to quickly head down the hallway. My teacher, being obligated to respond, walked me to the campus police. I gave a quick detailed description of the man. Finding out about the car incident, they quickly dispatched 2 police to search the entire campus. They gave me their personal numbers and offered to walk me to and from my car whenever I come to school. I thanked them and went on my way. I never saw that old man again, not even casually in the halls. So a little background first. I met my girlfriend about
Yeah,
7 months ago while I was in my first year of college, and she was in her last year of high school. She's originally from China and moved to the country I live in about 3 years ago. Right now, she's back in China for a few months to visit her family before she starts college. Today, I got off of work and noticed my girlfriend had messaged me a ton on QQ, which was a Chinese social network. It was strange to me since she had gone to sleep at around 9 a.m. my time and told me that she would be up around 4 p.m. But my phone told me that she had sent me a ton of messages at around 1 p.m. Normally, she wouldn't do anything like this, so I knew something strange was going on. I opened up my phone, thinking she had just likely had a bad dream or something, but nothing prepared me for what I was about to see. She messaged me in a very distressed and confused tone, saying that I should look at this Chinese forum that this anonymous guy had sent her, since there were photos of us on there. At first, I thought she meant just photos off of QQ that she had posted of us, since we've had people steal photos from there before. But I opened up the link she had sent me, and suddenly, I felt my whole body freeze up because of what I saw. Photos of us, hundreds of them, taken by someone else. The first few photos looked like someone had just taken them from behind us while we were walking together. The more I scrolled, though, the creepier it got. There were photos of us at parks, on the bus, at the movie theater, and at the mall, and even at a sushi restaurant. Pretty much every single public place that I had ever been with her. I was completely creeped out by this point. This person seemed to have taken photos of us every time we went on a date together. But it got worse. I scrolled more and found a bunch of photos of me using a stall in a public washroom.
What the fuck? I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But I couldn't stop myself. You all can say what the F in the chat. Say what TF. Bryce still here? I know you're probably typing all the language again, Bacon. Okay.
It looked like they had taken it by putting their camera over the wall of the stall beside me. There were photos of the exact same thing, but with my girlfriend. Then I saw the worst photos of them all. Photos of us in my room hanging out, sleeping together, and having sex. My room was on the 5th floor of the residence in the college, and it had no buildings facing it. I normally kept my blinds open all the time because I liked the sunlight and didn't fear anyone looking in. It looked like it was taken from a similar height my room was at. The only way I could think of someone taking these photos without using something ridiculous like a helicopter was if their camera had incredible zoom. I asked my girlfriend if she had ever noticed anyone stalking us, and she said no. I had no idea how we could have never noticed this person stalking us everywhere. It seems to be only one person that did this, though, since the photos of me and my girlfriend individually never seem to occur during the same time. I'm currently trying to contact authorities about this, but I'm unsure of how much they could even help, or if they can even find the person who stalked us. But if I did find out anything, I will post an update about it here. Update. I was able to get into contact with the authorities of the city that I was living in at the time. I sent them multiple screenshots of the forum post with the photos. The police said that they would do their best to look into it. I also left messages at a few places that would have CCTV that me and my girlfriend were at, but so far, I haven't gotten anything back.
Cat boss really starting freaking me out.
A little background. I was about 10 at the time this happened, and my brother was also 10 years old. We were taking swimming lessons at a public pool about 10 minutes away from our house. We would go for our lessons every Friday evening, and usually afterwards, we would just chill in the spa until my dad was ready to go. On this particular Friday evening, my brother and I were in the spa pool doing kid stuff and whatnot,
Spider-Man.
when I noticed a man sitting directly across the spa from me, just kind of staring at me. The spa was about 12 meters in length. The man was tall and thin. He had a very pointy nose and button-like eyes. He had very short, thin gray hair, and his skin was unusually red. I didn't think much of it at the time, as I'd seen this man around the pool before, and I think my dad even had a conversation with him at some point. But he only continued to stare, and it made me so uncomfortable that I had to get out of the spa and sat outside waiting for my dad. That's when I began seeing him everywhere. Wherever I was, he was. Grocery stores, malls, outside of my school, and always at my Friday night swimming lessons. I never told my dad about seeing him everywhere. I thought maybe I was just overreacting, but I was very naive to the obvious danger. I remember one instance where I was at a department store with my mom, and I saw him down the end of every aisle we went down, but I said nothing. Red flags started to go off when he decided to carry a camera around with him. He would always be in a completely black outfit with his camera bag around his neck, just watching me. One day, I was at the mall with a few friends when one of them pointed him out before I even noticed him. I told them about the man and the way he looked at me. One of my friend's older sisters advised me to tell security so that he could be removed. And as soon as he saw them coming, he got up and left. Flash forward about 2 years or so, and I haven't seen my stalker friend for so long. Now, he's only a distant memory. That is, until I get called into the school office because my uncle was here to collect me early. As soon as I saw him there, arms open, in my fucking school office waiting for me, I felt sick. I'd forgotten about this man, and 2 years later, he had the nerve to come and try to get me out of school, and he even had his camera. I marched right past him and to the office woman and simply said, "This man isn't my uncle," and walked back to class. But he still persisted. At lunches, he was always outside my school. He would always try to wave and get me over to him, or he would hold up a chocolate bar as some kind of child bait. So his random school appearances continued to the point where the school felt the need to contact my parents and let them know what was going on. My dad was distraught, having actually spoken to this man before, and he demanded that the police be contacted so that we could get a restraining order, or something. And that was when we found out that this man was a convicted sex offender. The police took his camera and found hundreds and hundreds of photos of me, some of which were zoomed up into my bedroom windows at my house. We immediately got a restraining order, and thankfully, I haven't seen him since. My hometown is a smallish community in the Midwest. I'm Korean, and I regularly dealt with racism and prejudice growing up. I now live in Los Angeles. My parents own a laundromat slash dry cleaner. Yes, I know we're a living stereotype. Whenever I visit home, it's like I never left, and I'm going back to working and helping out at the store. Anyways, years ago, I was visiting home and working at the store, and I noticed a guy in his mid to late 30s with large, clear plastic frames.
Where I am?
Think Jeffrey.
Oh, where I am, yeah, it's rained, but not snowed yet. We're on the update newsflash. Right, what am I on? Newsflash, we haven't had any snow yet. I think we live in the same region, yeah, we live in. I don't think you're too far from me because whenever it rains outside, where you are, it's raining outside where I am. Whenever it's cold out, freezing cold out where you are, it's freezing cold out where I am. Wherever a warning comes up about that freaking hurricane, it's coming up on me. Right? I think we live pretty close to each other. That's what I think. And I ran through the same region.
Watching me as I moved about the store, cleaning and such. I didn't think anything of it, as we got strange customers often. Also, growing up Asian in a small community, we got stares often. A few days later, he was back and came up to the counter. I'm sitting behind, but reading a book, so my mom talks to him. He asked my mom if he could talk to me and ask me for legal advice. My mom, who was very proud that I was a law student, pushes me to him. This guy seemed a little off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. He brought out a large manila envelope and asked me if I could help him. He goes on to explain that he was charged for stalking a girl and that he had unfairly been found guilty and served 2 years, and then began to go into how he had recently gotten into trouble again. He said there was a restraining order, which he insists he did not violate. He told me that all he did was copy a few verses out of the Bible and leave her the note on her doorstep. Internally, I was thinking, holy crap, this guy's a whack job. Externally, I tried to keep my cool and explain that I'm only a college student and that I can't give him any legal advice. I apologize so he doesn't kill me and tell him that he should go to a legal aid or something. He thanks me and then goes back to doing his laundry. I was very weirded out by this guy, but at the same time I was thinking, okay, he's not stalking me, just some other poor girl. Also, I don't know how he knew I was in law school. Then our employee comes shortly thereafter, and my mom tells him about the weird guy asking me for legal advice and points him out to our employee. The employee is a graduate student at a local university. He then tells my mom that he recognizes the weird guy. Apparently, a few days before, the weird guy had come in while the employee was working. The weird guy starts asking questions about me, who I am, and what I do. The employee gets heebie vibes from the weird guy and tells him that I was a lawyer. Of course, I wasn't yet, and that I lived in California. The weird guy then gave the employee an old brooch and asked him to give it to me. The employee then pretends to be my older brother and refuses to pass the gift. My mom told me all of this as we were driving back home. I don't act it, but I was totally creeped out. My mom was also creeped out. The next day, we were back at the store. During midday, it gets kind of slow, and me and my mom are standing in the doorway talking to each other when we noticed a car driving through our parking lot very slowly. It was the stalker. He sees us and also sees that we saw him directly and immediately peels out of the lot. My mom was even more weirded out after this. We took the long way home that night. I slept with a bat next to my bed. I returned to California soon after, and I haven't seen him since.
That boss always wanted to freak me out. Yeah, do a bot. Okay, we're gonna watch creepy night shit. Freak, it's been 1 hour. Let's watch Homer's story.
Red is the new black. Spread the word.
No,
Audio Star, the online
I'm
store
not
for audio
spreading that
equipment and
word.
musical
The
instruments.
blue,
Visit now to save
green,
up to 50%
indigo,
on new
white,
gear or save an extra
anything
5%
but red,
on already
man.
discounted items.
Starting to make you think you're trying to paint the town red. Where's it? Make it bloody as heck. Mr. Grinch, you're as ugly as a cactus. Oh, Mr. Grinch. Who knows if the Grinch stole Christmas?
I've been working nights for the last 4 years now. But for the last year specifically, I've been working nights in a store by myself as a baker. Everyone swears up and down that the stores are
Yeah, it's
haunted.
snowed here a little bit
And
too,
yeah,
actually.
it can get pretty creepy working
Right, it did
alone
snow
all
actually
hours of
here. It snowed like a little, like not even 1 inch. It was like a little bit of snow. It was like snow flurries. Is that what it was for you? I think we do live in the same region, right? We do. We have the same time zones. We have the same weather. In that case, I don't think you. If I ever see you in person, I'll say, "Hey, this is Bacon," and then you'll recognize my voice easily.
the night. But I don't really believe in all that. It's mostly just getting freaked out by a creaky old building. Anyway, it's a fairly safe job. There are alarm systems in the store that alert you if a door is opened, and the managers can call or come by to check on you. For the most part, I'm in the back of the house just baking and doing my thing. So one night, I'm doing just that. Baking, listening to some music, and trying not to psych myself out about ghost stories and whatnot. I was working out of a smaller oven, which was mostly concealed from the front doors and windows by a massive coaling rack. It's not uncommon for your managers to show up unannounced because we do work by ourselves, and they want to make sure that we stay productive throughout our shifts. So when I heard the sound of the door attempting to be opened, I didn't think much of it at first, until a second later when it stopped, and I didn't hear anything else. Glancing out the rack, I tried to see outside without drawing attention to myself, because as pathetic as it is, I still get a little scared that someone is trying to break into my store. As a single lady working nights, you learn to be a little paranoid. So moving on, there's no one at the door, and I assume that it's just the wind making it creak. So I continue on baking. Fast forward a little. It's about 2 in the morning, and I'm up front grabbing a drink from the soda machine, when I notice someone standing outside. It's obviously a man, and he's looking down at something in his hands. Yeah, it startled me, but there's a bar across the complex I work in, and it just closed. So I assume he walked over drunk and was on his phone or something. As per company policy, if someone is hanging out outside the store at night, you're supposed to call the cops and have them get rid of the person. Even though it's usually just someone using the Wi-Fi, we've been told it's a liability for the company in case that person gets robbed, or hurt, or whatever. So I'm thinking, alright, if he's still there for a little while, I'll call. I don't want to be a dick and call the cops on someone that's watching out for a cab. You know, that's when all of a sudden, he turned and looked up at me. He motioned for me to come to the window in front of where he was. I stood, sort of frozen for a moment, and then shook my head at him and walked to the back of the house where I could not be seen. I'm not gonna say it didn't creep me out. It really did. But worthy of losing my mind over it? No. So I began to beg again and told myself that it was just some drunk dude and that I needed to be on the lookout. A couple of minutes later, though, I heard knocking on the front door. Knowing that we didn't have a truck coming that night, and that if our managers didn't have the keys, they would just call, I ignored it, hoping that he would leave on his own.
Wrong.
At this point,
I didn't
I
win
definitely
934,
consider
guys. I won 634. And I got 964. Yes! You know how close I am to hitting 500 subscribers? I mean, I can't wait for that to happen. But it seems that progress is slow. Not because I don't make that amount of videos anymore. It's mostly live streams because I like to chat with you guys globally and live. I'm not that guy anymore. Because I'm trying to be like you guys in a way. I think it's a good idea to be doing live streams instead of videos from this part. Right, I might do what you do sometime and bring up an old past video that you guys have never seen. Some of you guys haven't seen. Put it up there on the live stream while I chat with you guys. And I have to turn my microphone off. Or gotta be quiet. That'd be hard.
Warning him that if he didn't leave, I would call the cops. But why give someone trying to come into a closed store late at night with one chick inside a warning? He knew what he was doing, drunk or not, and after working nights this long, you learn quick that there is absolutely nothing anyone needs to say to you in an isolated area at 2 in the morning. After a moment, the knocking stopped, and I got a little worried. I texted my manager, who told me to call the cops if I felt threatened, and that I should keep him posted. I checked to make sure the alarm was set, and tried to avoid the front of the house as much as possible. It was quiet for a while after that. I checked a couple of times to see if he was out front, but I never saw him. About an hour passed, and nothing happened. I tried to stay upbeat and focused on my work. I went to go work in the small ovens again, and it was just as I was about to put some bread in the oven that I heard knocking on the front doors again. Only this time, it was really fucking loud, insistent, and angry. So I did what any normal person would, and I fell to the floor and hid. I went to reach for my phone to call the cops and realized it was charging on the other end of the cafe. I couldn't get to it without being seen because the entire front of the store is just made up of huge windows. Right as I made these connections, the banging got louder. It didn't sound like he was using his hands to hit the glass anymore. It sounded like he was using something heavy to hit the doors. So I'm sitting there, cowering under my baker's table, desperately hoping that this guy is just trying to scare me and not break in. Or that it's my manager trying to play a prank on me because he knows that I can get a little jumpy. Anything really to try to calm myself down. I run through my options. The first thing I decide is that, seen or not, I need to get my phone. So I run, ducking the entire way, and get to it. I quickly call 911, fill in the operator, and then I call my manager, who tells me he will be there as soon as he can. This is about the point where all my ovens decided to start going off.